So we're going to talk a little bit about what is statistics. So statistics in general is the science of classifying and interpreting numerical information or data that you actually collect. So you're collecting data or looking at data all the time. So some possibilities for data could be measurements of electric current, scores you got on tests, lengths of objects or widths of objects, or any sort of measurements in terms of that. And many other possibilities. So anything generally that you're collecting or measuring or utilizing, we can think of that as data. So statistics and statistical methods have a lot of practical uses when you're looking at quality control, work design, research, decision making, predictions, all that kind of thing. You're using data, using information to make those decisions. So just to look at some terminology, when you are doing statistics and working with data, it's important to make the distinction between what we call a population and what we call a sample. So a population is everything. So all of the possible individuals, objects, measurements of interest. You can also call this a universe. So there are situations where you might use that terminology instead. And then we use population parameters or population statistics to describe our populations. So again, we're going to get into the more statistical side of things and doing calculations related to it. So it's important to think about, do you have all or do you have a sample, which is just a subset, a portion, a part, or a subset of the particular population. And we talk about sample statistics describing samples. So again, we are going to do some calculations and sort of think about that. Your first step always should be, when you're looking at statistics and working with data, are you dealing with everything or are you dealing with just a part of it? So let's take a moment and do an example of whether we classify something as a population or whether we would classify it as a sample. So here's our first example. So a mall employee was asked to gather a survey results of 50 shoppers. So when we take a look at this, our data really is looking at 50 shoppers. So in that case, would you say 50 shoppers is everybody, all shoppers, or is that just a subset of shoppers? And again, we're making the assumption probably that there is more than one or more than 50 people that shop at the mall on any given basis. So my assumption would be here that this is not all of the shoppers, but just part of the shoppers. So we talk about this being a sample. In the next example, Fleming College is analyzing the final grades of its spring 2018 graduates. So when you look at that, what are they analyzing? Are they analyzing all spring 2018 graduates, or are they just doing a component of spring 2018 graduates? And my assumption is that it's the final grades, not some of them. It's not giving a proportion or a number of them. So I'm assuming that this would be all of the 2018 graduates. So we're looking at a population in this case. There can be times when you're actually looking at it as a population or vice versa. So for example, if your mall only ever had 50 shoppers, this could possibly be a population. And for example, if Fleming College was looking at its graduates for all of the past 10 years, then spring 2018 would be a subset of that or would be a proportion of it. So it's not always super black and white. You sort of have to think about what you have and what you want to get to. But it should always be your first step in sort of thinking about those two distinctions.